Hi guys, and welcome to Trucking Along with Kiersey. That's me, your positive voice in trucking. Today we're going to talk about all those nasty, negative, bad reviews that you see on all these different trucking companies, why people rate such crap, why they always want to complain and moan, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to start this channel, is to point out some of these things and teach you how to read some of these reviews and distinguish where that negativity really belongs, on the company or the reviewer. So stick around. One thing you'll find out here on the internet is that people love to complain. Misery loves company. They really want other people to complain and feel bad, and one of the issues I think it comes down to is it boosts somebody's ego. For them to turn around and tell you, well, I would never drive for Prime, when they see your 15-foot logo on the side of the trailer, they're trying to boost their own ego and put you down to make themselves feel better. And, I combat that by saying, well, did you ever drive for Prime? Well, no, but I wouldn't. Oh, so what you're saying is you know absolutely nothing of the company, you have no experience from which to speak, but you're going to make a decision based solely on what? Well, what people say. Okay, how do you know they're not idiots? Because I personally do not pay attention to book reviews or movie reviews because I don't know those people. They could be morons. What makes me think, or what makes a person think, because not me, because I would say they're morons, but what makes a person think that you're reading a review of a movie or a book, that person has a clue in their head? You have no knowledge about that person, so they have no credibility. Okay? I've worked at Prime for 4 years as a company driver. I have a lot more credibility than somebody who's never worked there before. And when it comes to talking about being a company driver, I have a lot more credibility than somebody who turns around and says to me, like this happened to me in the terminal this week, well, I was a company driver for 4 months and it was horrible, so I became Lease. I make a lot of money now. I said, okay, well, show me. I make a lot of money too. How about that? You didn't make any money because you gave up after 4 months. It takes almost a year to understand the business. And a lot of times these people come in and they post negative reviews because they really didn't know what to expect. They had these dreams and ideas in their head of what this industry and this job was going to be like, or what their company was going to be like, but they had no clue. So of course they're going to write these negative reviews because they're comparing this dream. If you're dreaming of Cinderella and Prince Charming, and you meet this guy who's really great, but maybe not as good looking, or, whatever, you don't like the way he kisses or whatever, and you have in your head this fictitious fairy tale life, and then you're comparing your life now to that fairy tale world, and you're comparing that guy or woman or whoever to an imaginary thing. You're doing the same thing when you come into trucking, and then you bash the company because you didn't know what to expect. That's not the company's fault. That's your fault. It's not the recruiter's fault. It's your fault. I came into trucking and I was like, I'm going to take whatever they throw at me. So people love to complain. They love misery. Misery loves company. People just love to embellish. It's more dramatic. Look at our news. When you look at the news headlines, do they say, oh, father of 4, took his kids to Disney World this weekend and they had a good time? No, because nobody cares. But if they put father of 4 killed his kids after taking them to Disney World and chopped their heads off, oh, it's all news all over the place. We sensationalize the negative in our culture. in our media, on the internet. You know, things that go viral are rarely things of something good. You know, how often do you see something where the cops helped a family that was stranded on the side of the road, or, you know, or somebody was saved? It's not as often as, oh, the cops beat up this guy and killed him or whatever. And I'm not saying that that person's life wasn't valuable, but what I'm saying is that there's a lot of good in the world that does not get brought out. And it's the same with trucking companies. It's the same with dispatchers. It's the same with drivers. There's a lot of good out here that people don't discuss. I'm pretty sure I talked about in my accident video, I told the story where I knocked the trailer axle off, and I was 30 days out, and it wasn't fun, and you know, it was upsetting. But two really amazing things happened after that. Number one, another Prime driver came and calmed me down and really sat me down and told me, like, everybody has these situations and you can get through it and learn from it. And he showed me, you know, that he made mistakes, and he told me his trainer's mistake stories, and he made me realize that I wasn't going to be terminated and I could still be a great driver. You know, the world wasn't ending. Another really cool thing that came out of that was when I continued the load and delivered it, I wound up going to our Salt Lake City terminal where there was a driver who was retiring. And there were 3 of us brand new drivers that he said, come on out to my truck. And he just started handing his refrigerator and GPS and TVs and satellites to us. And we're like, wait, we can't give you any money for it. And he said, don't bother. I don't want your money. I'm retiring. I'm leaving trucking, but you remember this and you pay it forward. You help the new drivers coming into Prime in the future. You know, and that's how I try to live my life every day. I try to help as many drivers, and it doesn't matter if they're Prime or not. If you have a problem at Swift or Schneider or whatever, and you needed help and there's some knowledge that I had, of course I'm going to help you. Email me. My email's down below, darn it. But my point was that there's so many positive people and positive things that happen that if you just cloud your whole view of trucking by all these bad reviews, and what on truckingtruth.com, where I'm a moderator, where they have a term called terminal rats, that basically talks about people that hang out in the terminals, the ones that are always saying, oh, my truck's in the shop again, I'm not making any money, and I'm a lease up, and you know, I'm down, and you know, or the ones that are sitting there saying, I'm not letting my fleet manager run my truck, this is my truck, I'll do whatever the hell I want. And they complain and complain and complain. And they talk to these brand new drivers that don't know any better, that then hear, oh yeah, this is a horrible company. Well, if it's such a horrible company, why have you been working here for 8 years? If it's such a horrible company, why have you been here for 15 years? You know, if trucking is so evil, why have you been doing it? Like, last year I had a student on my truck, a TNT trainee, that we were team training, and we walked into a TA, and this guy, I'm trying to teach my student, you know, this is how Prime does it when we walk in, and it's covered under accounts, and you just have to give them certain information at the desk. And this guy interrupts us, and he's like, you're in training, give up now. Trucking sucks. It's gonna tear you apart. It's horrible. I've been doing it 20 years. Well, first off, what kind of an idiot are you? Okay? You've been doing something for 20 years that sucks and it's horrible and gonna beat you up. Second off, how? If you're that much of a wimp that you get beat up by somebody sending you messages telling you where to go and what to do, and not even calling you and bothering you or micromanaging you, then you're an idiot. You shouldn't be out here. You don't have enough backbone for this job to begin with. So then when I said something to that effect, it turned into, oh no, I don't let dispatch bother me. Then what are you talking about? Why wouldn't you encourage people? you know, because griping and complaints get more attention. Our just human nature, we don't care about the good stuff. You zero in on the bad stuff. That's the way it is. It's like positivity isn't juicy enough. Well, that's why I hope that every once in a while I put something funny that you guys will actually laugh and can keep watching. Something to understand is when you're reading some of these reviews, make sure you understand where that person is coming from. That's really important. When you understand what they're saying. I've seen reviews for Prime that are talking about lease ops. And you can tell they're lease ops as soon as they start saying things like, I had to pay for a truck that I was never going to own. Lease op. Okay. I didn't get a paycheck for 4 weeks. Lease op. You know, I never got to go home. I was out for 3 months and never got home. Lease op. I mean, and I'm not trying... What I'm saying is that when it comes to leasing, your success or failure is on you. It's not the company. So these people who fail, they can't accept their own responsibility for failing. They can't accept, you know, if they did well, they'd accept the accomplishment as theirs. I did this. They wouldn't go on a website and say, oh, the company helped me. No, they go on to, oh, I made a lot of money. It's their accomplishment. But somehow when people fail, it's not their fault. So you have to look at these and realize when that person's saying I was in the hole, they're not company drivers. They're lease ops. And their success or failure is determined by them, not by the company. They signed a contract and they agreed to it. Now, if you see company drivers there saying they don't make any miles, like the woman that I met who said that she had been driving for 4 months and she was only getting 1,800 miles a week, you know, as soon as I said, oh, well, that never happened with me, my first week, my fleet manager gave 2,600 miles. I was like, yo, I'm just at the gate. Slow down, dude. But, you know, she didn't give it enough time for her to realize that most of the time when you get fewer miles, it has to do with your time management, which I discuss in this video. So, that's on you. And again, it's success or failure is mostly on you. Now, are there certain things about different companies that maybe wouldn't work for me? Yes, I like the 8-2 splits. Schneider, for example, doesn't allow 8-2 splits. I think it's rail, you know, you have to ask permission to use an 8-2 split every time you want to do it. You have to ask permission to use personal conveyance every time you do it. You know, I don't have that. I'm not used to it. I'm not accustomed to it. But those are some of the things that allow me to manage my time better. Those are tools I've gotten accustomed to. Now, if I didn't have those tools when I started, I probably wouldn't be missing them. But again, when you're new and you're talking only 3 or 4 months, you don't have the time management skills. So stop blaming the company. It's really on you, whether you're a company driver or a lease op. Another really big thing that I love is, well, I lost my house, my wife, and my family because of that company. You know, I lost my house and my car. Said he couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. If you took that long to realize that you couldn't pay your mortgage and you stayed in that lease that was a walkaway lease, you're an idiot. And your wife should have left you. I would have left you. I wouldn't have married a guy that was that stupid to begin with. But, you know, there was another one that I love that's on, I think it's on Glassdoor, about Prime, where the woman says, well, this is our 7th lease with Prime. And they were all really good. But this time we're doing a lease and we're really not making any money. And this is ridiculous. We've been going through this for 7 leases. Well, 7 leases could be anywhere from, you know, a few years to 20 years. So, you know, and she was like, well, it's gotten worse and worse. Well, if it's getting so worse and worse, then why'd you keep doing it? Why did it take you 7 leases to realize you don't make any money? What changed? You know, I talked in the mega carrier videos about this one guy that said when I first came out, he did a video about micro sleep and how his dispatcher was so evil. Well, before I came out here, I believed him. After I came out here, I was like, he's a freaking idiot and doesn't know what he's doing, and he should be fired. So, because you don't understand the industry, you really don't know what reviews to trust and which ones not to. And when you're reading things like Indeed and Glassdoor, you have no idea what the credibility of these people is. I wouldn't believe any of them. Seriously. Especially when they use fake names and they're not using real names and they're just using screen names. I wrote a review about Prime not that long ago. I used my real name. I don't care. Because to me, you know, it's all what you make of it. I know people from my own fleet with my same fleet manager who was complaining to me, oh, I'm not making any money. I'm not making any money. I'm not running. I'm only getting 1,800 miles a week. That's because you're a pain in the neck who's constantly rejecting loads and saying, I'm not doing that. I'm not driving through Atlanta at night. I'm not parking in Atlanta at night. I'm not driving during Atlanta during the day, which basically means you're not going to Atlanta. While that's in the Northeast, there's no parking. Right, that's your job, to figure out how to get it done. So basically what you're saying is you don't want to do your job. And everything turned into, it's not safe. I didn't sleep. I'm not safe. I'm not safe. Well, then she got fired. She wasn't safe, and she admitted it. And she didn't see a reason why she was fired. It was still Prime's evil, Prime's evil. No. You're purposely not taking loads when you easily could. And you're not there. You're costing the company money. If you're not making enough money to pay you and pay the truck and pay the insurance on the truck, which Prime is self-paid, but they still have to, you know, pay other people's bills and accidents and stuff. And, you know, if you're not turning a profit, then you're creating a deficit. Why would they want you? So my conclusion is a lot of these people that write negative reviews do so because, or even the ones that are talking in the truck stops, it's just sensationalism. A lot of times it's sensationalism. It's lack of understanding of the industry. Sometimes it's just they want attention. I love when new drivers wind up writing reviews and they'll say, oh, well, I've been driving for 8 months and this is my 3rd company and, you know, this is horrible. Well, it's horrible you've been driving for 8 months and you're in your 3rd company. Really. I think that says more about you than the companies. The same is true for, like, change of fleet managers. I know somebody had changed fleet managers 5 times. 5 times in 2 years. And then wants to blame the fleet managers and the companies. No. It's your fault. Your fault. Absolutely. Because I can name, my fleet manager has 90-something drivers. I can name a handful of drivers who are very successful. They, you know, run, they get a lot of miles, and I can name a handful of drivers that suck. And they think that they're great. This one guy that was on my fleet, he bragged to me. Bragged like it was good. That he made $800 a week. Take home. Oh, yeah, my take home went up this winter over last winter. I was like, well, what did you make last winter? Oh, $600 a week. That's not Prime's fault. That's not my fleet manager's fault. That's his fault. Because either, you know, I talk about in that one video about how you can manipulate the way you drive in. If you drive into a customer early and you can take a break near the customer or at the customer, when you deliver in the morning, you can roll out with a full clock. But if you drive all night and you get there and you don't have any hours, then you're not going to get hours back until 10 hours later. So you're talking 5:30 in the afternoon or 9 o'clock at night or whatever, compared to 8 o'clock in the morning. You just wasted a whole day of driving. 500 miles in this company is, you know, $250. So then you want to sit here and complain to me that you're not making any money? Of course you're not, because you're an idiot. Give it the program. So that's my take on a lot of these reviews. So when you read them, sit back and look. Does this person sound like it's a lease op, an owner op, or a company driver? Okay. Understand that if they're lease ops or owner ops, not only does the business side come in, but also the time management side that I was talking about, even for company drivers. So company drivers could post negative reviews, but it's quite possible that they're so new that they don't know how to manage their time. Another issue is that freight changes constantly. So a lot of these lease ops made a lot of money last year because the freight rates were high. Well, now that freight rates are down, you know, those same loads they're taking aren't making as much money, and they're all upset, and you know, so they leave bad reviews. That's not the company. That is the industry that has highs and lows, and any industries like that. You know, that's just life. Deal with it and be flexible. If you're going to own a business, then you have to be prepared for things like that. So that is my discussion for negativity and reviews, and trying to stay away from people, you know, all these YouTubers that want to, you know, bash people and bash companies and things like that. There's a difference between telling the truth and being direct, and being totally negative and disrespectful and placing blame on everybody else. You know, I admit I hit, you know, my first month out, I've said this several times, I had an accident. That was my fault. That was nobody else's. Own up to your mistakes. Own up to your mistakes. You know, and you will do very well out here. Don't let anybody keep you down. So, please like, comment, subscribe, share, ring the little notification bell to get my new videos. And I hope to see you out here trucking along. Bye.